Hi, this is American smooth jazz saxophonist, record producer, and radio personality based in California. My name is Dave Koz, and you are watching me on Jazz Across the Pond with the Jazz Cat and Mr. G. I do hope you're enjoying it.
First of all, before we start the interview, can we both thank you very, very much for taking the time out to come and join us on our show? We're very grateful.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I love it. Jazz Across the Pond, that's what it's all about.
What can we say? Our very, very special guest on this week's Jazz Across the Pond is an American smooth jazz saxophonist. He's an icon. He's a keyboardist. He's a composer. He's a record producer. He's a radio personality, and that's in his spare time. He comes from California, and he has joined the pantheon of great jazz sax players from all over the world. When he sets out to head up a smooth jazz cruise, smooth jazz artists queue up on the gangway to come and join him, along with sellout dates of passengers and fans who are just desperate to go on. He is an amazing. With his fans, everybody, he's got a plethora of fabulous CDs, including an amazing collection of Christmas CDs and a new one coming out, which we're going to talk about in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, we've interrupted this gentleman as he's frantically packing to head away from California to come over to England for some wonderful sellout dates in England. By the way, I'll be there on the Thursday, the 29th, front row. I'll be there. You'll recognize me because I'll wear a nice subtle shirt. You'll see me. You'll see. There's no problem on that. Ladies and gentlemen, Jazz Across the Pond, we are so thrilled. Kevin and myself are thrilled to say a warm, warm welcome to Mr. Dave Koz.
Wow, what an introduction. Got a little golf clap there too. Thank you very much, Roger, for that beautiful introduction. Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate you being so nice to have me on your show. I'm a fan, and it's an honor to be here.
Very, very kind of yourself. Right, let's crack on. Our researchers have done a lot of work this week. They really have pulled out all the stuff. Let's see if we got it all correct. Born and raised in Los Angeles, San Fernando Valley, brought up in. Initially, you saw saxophone as a way to gain entry into your big brother's band. And what began as a ploy became a lifelong obsession. Your parents, Norman, a dermatologist doctor, and your mum, Audrey, a pharmacist. Your brother, Jeff, and your sister, Roberta. Dave, would you please tell our followers more about your childhood, your first introduction to music, and also, are we right in saying that originally you were a rock saxophonist?
Well, I guess you could say that that was true because one of my first gigs was with this guy named Richard Marx.
Yeah.
I'm sure that people remember Richard. He was massively huge in the late '80s.
Right here waiting.
Right, exactly. And all over the world, he was very, very famous. And still doing it, and we're still friends. But that was like my one of my first gigs, and it was I was a keyboardist and the saxophone player in the band, and it was like the heyday of MTV. So we would be these MTV shows, live shows in front of thousands of kids, and I had the rock hairstyle, the bad mullet. It was terrible. I look at pictures of myself back then. I was like, who is that? But that was a really interesting chapter, and it followed a couple of other chapters that were towards the beginning. Your researcher did a good job. All that is very correct, and my mom and dad were both in the medical field, but were very supportive of my brother specifically and myself that chose music. And my sister actually became a music executive. So all three of us went into the music business, and we were there for a very long time. And they were so supportive of that, which was really cool.
Your sister was actually affiliated with MTV, right?
Right. Yeah, she was one of before MTV was even MTV,
Right.
she was one of the executives at the channel that brought it on to be what it is on the cable side. She didn't do on the programming side, but on the cable side, more business. At any rate, the first gig that I got after college, I went to UCLA and I graduated as a communications major because I really didn't know what I was going to do. I honestly did not. I was doing weddings and bar mitzvahs and fraternity parties and stuff like that just to make a buck, a couple of recording sessions here and there. And then I got a call out of the blue from a publisher that I knew who said that Bobby Caldwell, the great singer, was putting together a new band, and you should audition for it because there's saxophone solos in every song of his. And so I auditioned for Bobby. I met him. I got the gig, and that very high-profile series of shows led me to Jeff Lorber, and Lorber hired me to be in his band, and then the day that I auditioned for him, he said, I think you should make your own records too. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I had never thought about that before. I was just happy to be a sideman. And he said, no, no, you should make your own records. And he committed to doing a demo with me. And that demo, which was 4 songs on a cassette.
Yep.
I see the CDs in the background there, Roger. Some of your viewers may not even know what those are. But cassettes were the rage back then. So I had a demo on a cassette. It wound up on the desk of a guy named Bruce Lundvall, who was a legendary record company guy, ran Blue Note Records, and also was the general manager of Capitol Records in the U.S. And he signed me in the late 80s to Capitol Records. And that's how I met Richard Marx, and that whole thing happened. And then in 1990, my first record came out, and it's sort of has been an absolute wild carpet ride ever since. I can't even believe it, you guys, because here it's 32 years after my first record.
30 something years ago. Yeah.
We're still here. We're a little grayer, but thankfully the music is still connecting with the fans. The fans of this music are so loyal and so loving, and so it's really a beautiful connection between the artists and the fans in our genre of music, especially.
Well, certainly saying about Richard Marx, of course, in England, the big song was Hazard. That was the big one.
Right.
Yeah, so
I remember that song.
Oh, dear. Kevin.
Well, Jeff, I know Dave, the very first thing that I like to do when we sign somebody up to do an interview is I like to reminisce as to how do I know him? How did that come about? So I did a little digging, and I've discovered that the way I found you, speaking of Jeff Lorber, is I was a big Chick Corea fan, back in 1972, loved jazz fusion. Well, I was talking to some friends later on, and of course they pointed out that have you heard of Jeff Lorber? He's got a project out, I think it was called Soft Space in '78, that has Chick Corea and Joe Farrell on. And I went, what? So that turned me on to Jeff, and then. From there, I noticed that because I'm looking now and want to see some more stuff from Lorber, and that's when I discovered your very first project, obviously, and second, he factored very heavily on both of those projects. So obviously, he helped you with your demo. But when I look back at those 2 projects, Dave Koz and Lucky Man was an amazing project in my mind, because it gave me an opportunity to see a lot of people that I'd heard about but hadn't always heard. I mean, you had some incredible people on. You had Lenny Castro, Robin Ford, you had Nathan East, Michael Thompson, you had Ricky Lawson, Jimmy Haslip, good friend of ours, and Paul Jackson Jr. were all on that project. So it's amazing how back in the day, you had so many connections that you created that a lot of those guys are still in play with you today, or at least an influencer. But yeah, that goes all the way back to 1990, 1993. But we could thank Jeff Lorber for that.
Yeah, and Lorber was my connection to most of those people, the entree point, because I was still kind of young, and I knew of these people and maybe would occasionally see them. But that's one of the benefits at the time. You got to remember, everything has changed now. Our business is so, it's kind of unrecognizable from the way it was back then to the way it is now. 30 years later, it's just completely different, where you don't need to be in the same room to make a record together. Right. But back then, you needed to kind of be in the same room. And that was the benefit of growing up in Los Angeles. Like I feel like I had a bit of a head start. My parents were born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, which you don't want to be in the wintertime.
No.
And so when they got married in 1956, my dad said to my mom, we're not long for Canada. And he always had a dream to live in Los Angeles. And so he moved with my mom, and the kids were born in LA. And I'm absolutely convinced that if he didn't make that decision, we would not be talking, and I wouldn't have chosen the life path that my life turned out to be. And so I'm very grateful to my parents for making that decision, because being in LA and growing up in LA, the best musicians. I mean, you have the greatest musicians on the planet that are right here.
Absolutely.
So you could call Nathan East or Paul Jackson Jr. and if they're free and you can afford them,
Right. True.
they would play on your project. And so John Robinson, I mean, I can just go down, up and down. Paulinho da Costa, I mean, all these legendary
Oh,
session men
Mhm.
and women that were available to us. So you could make, if you had the budget, that was, you could make really competitive records that sounded like pop records, which was what we did. Those early albums, because they were very heavily funded by Capitol, we looked at them not as jazz albums, but we looked at them as making contemporary instrumental pop
Right.
albums, so
Right.
that it would really hopefully stand the test of time. In fact, I will tell you a little game that Jeff Lorber and I played. Lorber is still a great friend of mine. We talk all the time. And we play the game of impressed or depressed. So we'll play one of our earlier. We've written so many songs together, for me, for him, for other people,
Right,
and we'll
right.
occasionally play a song, and we'll let it go. This is an old song of one of mine or his, and it play to the end, and we'll say impressed or depressed. And sometimes it's impressed. Sometimes, more often than not, it's depressed. But that's okay, because you make records in a vacuum. If like 1993 was the year that the Lucky Man came out, that had a
Mhm.
particular sound, right? The sound
Yeah.
of that day. And sometimes, especially, I mean, everything comes back around again. As we're finding right now, pop music feels very 80s and 90s all of
yeah.
a sudden.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, the sounds can go out of style, but then come back into style if you wait long enough.
Yeah.
So,
I
a
agree.
depressed can turn into an impressed if you wait a little while.
So
Well, let me ask you a quick question. Speaking of that little game you guys played, so did Jeff bring up Off the Beaten Path?
Um, yes.
Well, I will tell you, I mean, I've heard you in previous interviews talk about, well, I think someone asked you, were you ever disappointed with anything that's happened to you in your career? And you went, well, I mean, there was one song that I did that I was really excited about, and I thought I was, feeling my creativity. And he said, but it kind of landed with a thud. Well, now I take umbrage with that because I like that project. But the one thing that I will say, Mr. Koss,
Yeah.
is that I'm glad that you abandoned your desire as a vocalist.
Well, I never classified myself as a singer.
Right,
Never ever
absolutely.
said that.
But I
But
tell you what, but you did a nice job on that's the way I feel about you. I mean, I'm teasing you about the vocals on it, but it was heartfelt. There was no question about it. But you're a hell of a
I
sax
feel like I
player. I'll leave
redeemed
it at that.
myself. That was before 1996, I think. That was before Auto-Tune. So
That's pretty brave now, right? Nobody does that
that's
anymore.
the real me singing.
Oh,
Uh,
it was very emotional. There's no question about that. You could hear the emotion. But you know
Many
what
years
wasn't
later, though, on that subject, many years later, we did and Marcus Miller produced that album. It was called Hello Tomorrow, 2010. And
right.
real quick story, he said to me, no, told him we were doing we were kind of getting the songs together, and I told him I wouldn't mind doing one cover on this, and I've always loved the Burt Bacharach song that Herb Alpert made famous. This Guy's in Love with You. I thought that was a
Hmm.
great melody. So we're experimenting in the studio, and I'm playing it on the saxophone. And he said, "Well, why don't you sing this song?" And I said to Marcus, I'm not a singer. I don't think I can handle that." And he said, "Well, Herb Alpert was not a singer, and he had his biggest hit with
yeah.
this song."
Exactly.
So I hatched a plan. Herb and I are friends, and we've done work together. And I emailed him and I said, "Herb, I need your expertise here. I'm sending you a little demo of this song of me singing. You'll recognize the song. Tell me if I should keep my day job and just play it on the saxophone, or if you think that the vocal will be good enough. And please be honest." Email immediately back. 5 minutes later. "Just listen to the song. You should definitely sing it, and please save a space at the end of it because I'd like to blow some notes on it." and that
Oh,
actually happened.
wow.
So
Cool.
on that album is Herb Alpert at the end of the song recreating those classic trumpet notes on a remake of his hit
Yeah.
some 40 years later.
Yeah,
So
1968 was his hit. And so I'm hoping that on the subject it had impressed. I'm hoping that okay.
well, I will say that we used auto-tune on that one. So
There you go.
it's better. I may not be impressed with it, but it's at least better.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, time. Let's carry on. So you decided to go solo, and you recorded for Capitol Records, and you came out with the album Dave Cars, which we got there. We then already spoken about Lucky Man, and then of course we had The Dance, which came out, and then things really started to happen when you released this wonderful CD. It was Saxonic, and basically you got a Grammy Award for it, which we fully congratulate you on that. That must have been amazing. So please tell our followers more about those early days, which I think you've already alluded to now, but those getting that signing and coming up with those first 4 albums, and then on the 4th one, getting the Grammy Award. Please tell us more about that.
Well, I hate to correct you
Oh,
because it
go on.
sounds very, very impressive to me. I'm even impressed, not depressed. But I've never won a Grammy. I've never actually won. I've only
Nominated,
been nominated. Nominated, I've been, I think 9 times.
Yeah.
9 times nominated, and never won. But you know the old adage of the Grammys, like you're just happy to be nominated. It's really true
Absolutely.
until
It
the
is
day
true.
of the ceremony,
Yeah.
and you're there.
Had you have the hair right, you're all ready to
Yeah.
walk up.
Makeup on, beautiful tux. You want to walk up there.
Speak in your
And
pocket.
it's never happened. And I don't know.
As long as Dave, as long as you don't do this, and the winner is, and you go, oh,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not me.
Yeah.
That I did not do.
Well,
But
I'll tell you what, you're in a rare club because there's an awful lot of people that have been nominated and never have won one.
yeah.
But you've still got time. You still got time.
Well, we'll see. It's the Grammys are an interesting whole other subject we could talk about, but
Mhm.
we'll leave it be for right now. But I do feel wonderful that the nominations that I've received were for projects that I cared about deeply, and so that's just a lovely thing when you can have the recognition of your peers about something that's important to you. And then there's been projects that I've loved so much. You know, there's a funny thing about releasing music, and now there's so much music that's being released. It's almost like when I first started, there was something like in 1990 there was something along the lines of 9,000 albums released in a year, something like
Mm.
that.
Mhm.
It was like a
Exploded.
manageable number, and now I think it's 9,000 maybe every day or something.
Yeah.
Crazy, 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 maybe even more. And so to really stick out, especially with something that you really feel strongly about, it's harder and harder to get those ears on your music because there's
Mhm.
just so much, which is that's a good thing, I would say, for music. The fact that there is so much and there's so many different artists that are willing to take chances, and the importance of radio has diminished a lot in terms of
Oh, yeah.
breaking artists. So we don't need radio stations, which means that people toiling in their bedrooms, if they've got a great idea and it sounds halfway decent, you can put it out there on the internet and build a career that way. And so many of these young musicians are doing things in such a unique way, using the power of the internet and the power of social media to get their music across to the world. And over the last, say, 5 years, as I've watched this, I've turned from musician or recording artist, whatever. My new moniker is infiltrator,
Ooh.
because I just want to get inside of these guys and see what's going on and understand, get under the hood and see how this new engine of
Right.
music works. And it's
Well,
been
we're gonna talk about that a little bit when we come back from the break because you've hooked up with Corey Wong, which made me so happy. I've been following Corey since 2017, 18. And when I heard that you guys were doing a project, it was like, yes. So, but we'll talk more about that when we
Cool.
get back. Roger, what you got, brother?
Okay, you're talking about letting the world listen to your music. You have very graciously and very, very kindly given Jazz Across the Pond the chance to have the world premiere, not European, the world premiere of a track off your new album. The album is called Christmas Ballads. It's available from September the 23rd, and you very gracious have allowed us to have here on the show, which we're blown away with. We've had other artists come around and go, okay, guys. I mean, Chieli Minucci, Ollie Silk, they've all said, yeah, you can have the premiere. Even Nathan East gave us a European premiere, one of his tracks. So we can't thank you enough. It's a track. The album comes out. It's featuring David Benoit, a former guest here on our show, and that great, fabulous pianist. Rick Braun is actually going to be our guest next week on the show.
Great.
Look at that. And also Peter White. Happy birthday, Peter. Your birthday today.
Right.
Again,
we interviewed Peter.
Guest.
We interviewed Peter too.
Another
Peter
former
White.
guest. The album, we've heard little snippets of it, but we're actually going to play a track, and I can't emphasize enough, this is the world premiere of this track. It's called The Christmas Waltz. Have a listen to this. First time play. We'll be back momentarily to carry on this wonderful conversation with the man himself, Mr. Dave Koz. Back in a moment. Dave. is just incredible. It's 96,
Very nice.
96 shopping days to Christmas. That gives you 95 days to go out and order it and buy it, because it's the ideal Christmas present. It is called Christmas Ballads. I've given you the list of the songs. And actually, in fact, the last song, we're going to finish the show tonight. When we eventually get round to it, we're going to finish the show with Wrapped Up in Your Smile, a track actually co-produced and produced by Philip Sayce, one of our former guests here on the show. I tell you what, it's amazing. Can you tell us the backstory behind this album, please, Dave?
Well, I'm a little slightly embarrassed to say that this is my 8th Christmas album, but we had to do something this year because, well, let me back up for a minute. The whole Christmas tour, which is celebrating its 25th year this year, we've been doing, even in the pandemic, we didn't do a tour, but we did a live stream in 2020 and still brought Christmas to people. It's been going on since 1997 was the first year, and it's how it got started was through a conversation that I was having with David Benoit in 1997. I was interviewing him for my radio show. We were on the phone, and he had just lost his mom, and I had just lost my dad. They passed within like a couple weeks of each other, and we were just kind of, comforting each other really on this interview. And he blurted it out. He just said at some point, you know what we should do? We should go out at Christmas time. Instead of being at home missing our folks, let's go and make some music for them and hopefully for some other people. We had a first tour in 1997. I don't know, there might have been 5 or 6 shows. They were not very well attended, I should say. But the show was good, and they invited us back the next year. Peter White came the next year, and then the next year after that, Rick Braun came. And then we started doing this, and here we are 25 years later. So as a result of being so kind of connected to Christmas, even though I'm Jewish,
Wait,
made a lot of Christmas records. And this one just seemed to be, this one is really a favorite for me because it's the side of Christmas that I love the most, which is that very heartfelt, romantic, slow fireplace going, nice cup of hot cocoa or whatever you want to put in there, and somebody very special. And it's more like that quiet after the party is over. That's my favorite moments of the holiday season. So I came to Philippe Sayce, a dear friend and an amazing arranger and producer. And I said, Philippe, this is your baby. If you got the time, you got to corral all of us. And so we brought the original cast members from the early days of our tour. So it was David Benoit, of course, Rick Braun, and Peter White. And so I told Philippe, use us as colors on your canvas. You're going to paint with 4 colors. Here's your canvas. It's totally blank. And the nice thing is that we chose 10 songs that have never been recorded by me before.
Exactly.
So this is all brand new material for me.
Well, I'll just jump in 1 second. Of course, a lovely John Lennon medley with Happy Christmas, War is Over, and also Imagine featuring Rebecca Jade. Tell us briefly about Rebecca Jade, if you can.
Rebecca is someone that I've known for the last maybe 5-6 years. She's been on our cruise as one of the vocalists, and she's just impressed me so much. She's from San Diego. Her work ethic and her ability to just like turn a room. She just walks up on stage. She's got the big hair, the big afro, just like her presence, and she just commands. She's quite tall too. She just commands the stage. And then she opens her mouth to sing, and it's just like people go, whoa, what am I watching here? So I've been kind of eyeing her as someone that I would love to, pluck and see if we can do it. So last year she came on our Christmas tour for the first time. She blew everybody away. So we invited her back this year. So she'll be back on the tour. And then, of course, we wanted to invite her on the album to sing that song. And she did a beautiful job, really beautiful job, very heartfelt.
Well, just so there's no confusion for our viewers, so obviously, as you mentioned, David Benoit, co-creator of the tour,
Yes,
the original tour. He's obviously on the album, but he is not part of this year's tour. Keiko Matsui is going to step in and cover piano duties for you throughout the tour. The one thing that I wanted to bring up, they say logistics is everything. I look at the tour dates that you've set up for this project, And I'm telling you, brother, I'm sweating bullets. I mean, if you sit back and look, well, first of all, we want to back up and say that, well, Roger, did you want to talk about all 4 shows in London are sold out?
Yeah, if you don't let me jump in. So you are flying into the United Kingdom for the Tuesday the 27th, Wednesday the 28th, Thursday the 29th. That's a particular day I'm interested in. The Friday the 30th, and Saturday the 1st of October. In the Pizza Express in Soho in London. My understanding it's virtually a sellout. It's standing room only there, which is only right it's going to be. So that's there. But then on the Sunday, you're going to Northampton, to Milton Keynes, to the Stables. And there are still a couple of seats available for there. Am I right in saying that?
I think so. I can't really know. I don't know about the Stables, but I believe that the Pizza Express is pretty full.
Yeah, it's
Um,
booked. It's
but
booked
which
all
is
the way
great.
through.
I haven't been to the UK to play, and this will be 3 years. So this is so much fun for me. I love coming to England. I think it'll be very special. Of course, coming to England right now after the last couple of weeks that you guys have experienced, and the sort of the end of the era. This is a very heavy and important time, it seems like, but hopefully a time of celebration too, for the new monarchy, and also just,
Right.
I as an American, I think how much we're sort of tied, obviously tied to the UK and all the pageantry, and we've been glued to the TV set just like you guys have been over here over the last couple of weeks, especially yesterday.
Well, my
So
wife and
I think it'll
myself.
be very special.
Yeah, well, my wife, I mean, it's been 10 days mourning in this country. And yesterday was it was 8 hours of the state funeral. I'd never witnessed the state funeral before. And I sat through the entire duration. We turned phones off and that. And
Wow.
it was very, very, at the end there, it was very, very sad and that. And there was things I learnt that have been in history for hundreds of years now. There was things that I was learning yesterday. So, yeah, so you're actually right. Today, there seems to be a different atmosphere in the UK today. The royal family are going into 7 days of mourning now. But Charles, I think he'll be a good king. I think he'll be a fabulous king and supported by the royal family. And I think it will be an interesting times coming up. So, yeah, you're absolutely right with that. Kevin, question, sir.
So we just won't call him C3, I guess, right? We'll call him King Charles III. Can't call him C3.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Costa. Now you're launching your 2022 Christmas tour. You're gonna open it up in the 25th in Atlanta. You're doing 24 concerts, 23 cities. Again, you're gonna have Rick, you're gonna have Peter White, you're gonna have Keiko, and you're gonna have Rebecca Jade. After Atlanta, you've got 5 shows in Florida, which I guess now is the Southern Borscht Circuit, right?
Yes.
Then you hit the Mid-Atlantic states. You're going to hit North Carolina. You're going to do 2 shows in Virginia. You're going to do a show in West Virginia, followed by stops in the Rust Belt. You're going to be in Michigan. You're going to be in Illinois, Indiana, 2 shows in Ohio. Then you go to Texas and Arizona. And then you finish out with 7 shows in California, ending on December the 23rd. Some of these dates are literally 24 hours later, I'm on stage again. Now, I know some of these might be within driving distance, but you must have a hellacious road crew and great people that help set you up, the day of the performance. So it's an ambitious schedule. I encourage any and everybody that has an opportunity to go see one of Dave's shows. The cool thing is, because none of these songs have ever been recorded before, and you're not going to do the whole CD, but it gives people an opportunity to hear the first live performance of those songs and see that will be a cherished moment for a lot of people. So as if that isn't enough, I'm going to plug a couple more things for you real quick, if I might. So when you get back, you finish up in San Diego. No, you finish up, I'm sorry, you finish up in Modesto.
I'm glad you know this stuff because I don't.
Then on December the 31st, you give up your New Year's Eve to do Rick Braun's New Year's Eve blast. So you do that. And then January the 12th through the 14th, you're in the Dominican Republic with Warren Hill and his jazz festival, which will be outrageous. And then your 2023 Dave Koz and Friends at Sea, all 3 voyages are sold out.
Yeah.
So you get a little break there. You get a little bit of a rest, but then July the 25th through August the 8th, you're going to be on Rick Braun's River Cruise. His getaway featuring, listen to this, Roger,
Yep.
Europe's rivers and castles.
Oh,
Hopefully there'll be some water in the Seine if that's one of the rivers you're going to be hitting. So.
okay. I'm going to jump in very quick because time is not on our side. Dave, you have served as a global ambassador for the Starlight Children's Foundation for over 25 years. You founded the Cos Wines in 2009 and another avenue to support the foundation. Dave, you donated all your proceeds from the Cos Wines to the organization with the help of your fans who have raised over $1 million through the Dave Cos and Friends at Sea silent auction. We congratulate you. We applaud you. Amazing that is absolutely, sir. If I had a hat, I'd take my hat off to you.
That has nothing to do with me. I'm just the conduit, if you will, for the generosity of our fans and guests on the cruise. We do a really wild and fun auction on the cruise, all kinds of different special occasions and things that you can buy and one-of-a-kind experiences and stuff. And over the course of the years of doing that, we have raised, it's now close to $1.3 million that we raised, and all through the generosity of our fans. Starlight Children's Foundation, by the way, for those who may have heard of it or don't know what they do, I got involved with them a long time ago and saw firsthand what they do. Now, this is kids that are in the hospital for various ailments for long periods of time. So cancer, leukemia, burn victims, and these are kids that just want to be kids, and because of what's happened in their lives, they can't be. So right. Starlight comes in through their various programs, very robust programs, and provides a little lifeline to these kids to be kids, remind them that they are children. And I've just seen what they do, and I've also met so many Starlight kids that have impressed me. They're like unbelievable heroes in my life. So my job as an ambassador is just to raise awareness and hopefully raise funds to keep them doing their mission, because it really is a special thing.
No doubt.
We all know that health, when you don't have your health, everything changes. So it's everything. And especially if you're a kid and you don't have your health, oof. So I'm very proud of that work and extremely honored and grateful to our fans that have shown up for Starlight for years and years and years.
Well, as the interview the curtains begin to come down, any one of your albums, I mean, you can buy any of your albums, whether it be A New Day, which is fabulous. A shame we've run out of time, because I know Kevin and myself would have loved to have spoken about Summer Horns, another fabulous collection of albums, and that with some wonderful artists and that. Absolutely incredible. I said, but unfortunately, time is not on our side. Kevin, have you got any last things, sir?
The only thing I'm going to say is I mentioned Corey Wong. I tell you what, that young man is absolutely amazing, and the energy. I've never seen you as happy as doing those live recordings. And I also noticed that you were one of the few people, other than the bass player, the drummer, yourself, you guys were the only ones that didn't have music, and Corey obviously didn't have a music stand in front of you. So job well done. If people have not heard that project, it's called The Golden Hour. Check out Corey Wong, Dave Cos. You're the man. You're dope, brother. You're dope.
Well, I've just made it. I just made it because you called me dope, Kevin.
There you go. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jazz Across the Pond, we are enamored, we're amazed to have the man himself, Mr. Dave Cos. I'm looking forward to seeing you in London. From everybody here, from Dave Cos, say goodnight.
Good
night, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Great to see you.
Look after yourselves. From us, good night.